knowing that, hey, maybe it could fail.
I have an incredible opportunity. And I was like, don't screw this up.
Everybody is selling something.
My dad is the exact opposite of me. Taking it and just kind of coasting would have been failure.
Man, we're about to make a pretty big investment. How did you come to the conclusion that the risk was worth it? Well, Drew, appreciate you hopping on. Obviously, you're someone who's been very active with us here at Valuetainment. So I've been able to see how much your business has grown. And I thought that not only could you provide a lot of value for other people in the community who might want to experience your level of growth, but also you run a pretty interesting business with 3PL warehousing logistics. You work with some cool influencer brands and CPG brands. One thing that I did want to cover with you, and I thought it could be really valuable for the community, because something along the lines of family businesses. I know
Yeah.
that you took over, your mom and your dad's business, and they kind of helped set the foundation for you. And you're an outlier in the sense that something like 50 or 80% of like second or third generations just fail. They don't even make
Yeah.
it past. So maybe share with me a little bit of insight. What do you feel like you did differently with your mom and your dad's business that kind of allowed you to break out of that mold?
Yeah. So I'm a third generation entrepreneur. And so it's funny, it's that third generation. I think it's something along the lines like 80% of the money like disappears with third generation or something like that. I heard that statistic when I was in high school somehow or another. And I remember sitting there thinking, man, I have an incredible opportunity. And I was like, don't screw this up. Like that was literally what was in my head. Because I was like, I don't want to be that statistic of a third generation entrepreneur and fail. It's like that's not where, and fail meaning like fail to me was like not, expanding on what had given me, not multiplying what was in front of me already. Like that'd be failure. Not just, taking it and just kind of coasting would have been failure, in my eyes. And so, my family did, I think my dad did a great job of giving me just enough that would get me started, but then not helping me past that, which was massive. And so I think that's where he knew that same kind of mindset, and so he built it in such a he built. It's not like I'm running. I didn't take over a family business. I took over opportunity. So I come from entrepreneurs and what they did. So I went and started something out of what they've done to help me go start and run and catapult. But I'll say it. It's like for me, it was like the best thing that I think for me was one, knowing that statistic. So it gave me a little fire in my belly to kind of like, all right, when that kind of comes along, it's like, this is, I'm not going to be that. I'm going to be this other 20% that takes this and runs with it. And so like that was in my head the whole time, just figure it out. And then the second side of it was my dad was so massive about like, I'm going to help you, but once you start, it's on your own. Like I'm going to get you started. And so like he's like, I don't go to him for loans. I don't go to him for anything. Like go to the bank, go to these people, figure out these deals, figure it all out, which has been probably one of the best things for me was putting me in those positions where I had to go learn how to do real estate transactions, how to negotiate big deals. I mean, he gave me tips and advice, and massively. I just got off an hour-long phone call with him just now. So having a guy that's been there, done that in his 70s now, has been multiple businesses and very successful, at a phone call's reach is massive. But yeah, it's been a journey. So that's why I plug in. It's also why to be frank, it's why I'm so adamant about what you guys are doing because it's like I don't want to like my dad, I have every reason. I'm in Dallas, Texas. Like we have some of the best business guys here. I know most of them around here. I can get to anybody we need to in Dallas. And one phone call. I'm not just saying that. Like if I needed to, we could. But being able to like go take that network, apply it into learning of what we're trying to build out in biz dev side or whatever it may be, and how do I scale this company past just being an operating company? How do I scale it to be where it's operating without me and get it to that next level? And that's where I've just constantly wanted to learn and grow because there's a little bit of motivation of being motivated by fear in a way of like, all right, don't screw this up. You got a heck of an opportunity and just keep firing and go 10x it. And so that with that motivation comes a desire to just, what's my weakness? What's the gap? What do I always kind of have to be auditing and reviewing to get myself to that next level? And that's why I've been applying with you guys for the past 2 or 3 years now, 2 or 3 years now, something like that.
2.5 years now,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And you said something interesting because I'm sure you talk to your dad, you consult with your dad, or you catch up with him fairly often, right? It seems like you
Yeah.
just got off the phone with him. Sometimes we speak to entrepreneurs and they're like, "Oh, my dad is my mentor," right? Or like my uncle, my rich uncle who's well off, runs a business, like he's the only guy that I process with. How come you see value in outside sources And what would you say to those guys who only go to like their family or their dad who's like a successful, what was the mindset in you that said, let me also look outside and see what else is available?
I just knew there's a ton of other guys out there that share the same values that are just as successful as what I've been around my whole life. And so you've been around it. Plus, it's like if you come learn from me, like I'm going to teach you really well how to like run a business and a driving side of it. I'm not going to teach you really well how to operate a project management tool, like how to be a project manager. And stuff. Like that's not my skill set. My
Mhm.
dad is the exact opposite of me. He's an operator, introvert kind of guy, and he's been massively successful. Like he's done a great job. I'll tell you personally later on other stuff, but he's done a great job. So I can learn from him how to build and operate a business, but I can't really
Mhm.
learn from him how to like how to other skill sets that other guys may have. And so for me, it's a venture of okay, I'm trusting my dad saying this, learning from him. I got to go learn some other things from some other guys that I might hear it differently from somebody else, right? Like my dad says the same thing some of these guys do. But it's always like it's how you hear it, sometimes how you intake it. It's hard to take. I told my dad this the other day. I've told him a couple times. Actually, I told him maybe 2 years ago. I said, thank you for all the advice and the wisdom and the knowledge you've given me over the years. I didn't realize it, but like 90% of what I hear from all these other business guys is the same stuff you've been telling me my whole life. And it's a blessing. Like to have an uncle or a dad or somebody that's like that, it's massively a blessing because it is, because you kind of come into it and you're like, oh, that's the obvious answer is this. And then Tom will say that answer, and you're like, well, yeah, why did I know that? Because I had a guy who's 72 years old, who's been there, done that for three or four businesses, done that. And it's a blessing. It's stuff that you don't want to take for granted. But it's
Yeah.
that 10% that you're always like, you got to always be aware. It's like you're never at your top of your game. And so I'm always kind of striving to be, what is that 10%? How do these guys say it? How do these guys act? And then one of the 10% things was building a sales team for me, by the way. So it's like, how do I build a sales team? That's where you guys are obviously massively crushed on the sales side. So SLS. And so for me, hiring a sales team, building that out, my dad didn't ever do that. He didn't have to. He had a company that he built, multiple companies he built over the years, and didn't worry about building a sales arm of that. And I had to build a sales arm because of what we had to do to sell and scale. And that's a weakness I had to do and just step into it, trusting processes and taking advantage of that. So it's always that I'm always looking for that 10%. I'm always looking for like, what is it out there that's how am I going to hear it? How am I going to learn it? What do I need to dive into just to kind of get better? And I'm 36 years old, man. I've got 40 years left in me at least to figure this out and keep going. So my grandparents started a company, they're 85 years old and it was massively successful. So it's like, I'm sorry, 65 years old. So who knows when I'm 65 years old if I'll be starting something different again, but I still got a lot left for me to keep learning that 10%.
Yeah. No, it seems like your dad was much more operationally minded. And
Yeah.
so, like, the answers that you were looking for to get to the next level were more on things like maybe more biz dev, more sales side, or just some of the other, skill sets that maybe weren't ingrained in you because your dad is naturally an operator. And that's something that we noticed when we first sat down with you was like you already had a pretty solid business. It's not like you were like bare bones doing nothing, right? Like you had a solid business operationally. And then that's how we realized, okay, if we had the sales side going, how much more could it grow? Right.
Yeah.
What would you say with you? What advice would you say to maybe other guys that are in your space who are blue collar guys, warehousing, or sometimes even construction guys? They might deal with their more operator mindset.
Yeah.
How did you know that you were ready to build a sales team and start growing and scaling at a much more rapid pace? What did you know operationally was ready for that next level?
Yeah, so I had the right leadership team in ops. My main focus was establish operations, establish our service model inside that ops, and then scale that. So I kind of took it in the first couple of years, like, I got to get operations dialed in. And once operations could go without me, with guys that were better than me at operations, and then I wanted to just let my gifts and skill sets kind of scale into sales, which is my own self, and then having building a sales team underneath me that can really replicate what I've been doing is successful. So the biggest thing was just having the ability to have other leaders that are better than me at operations or my weaknesses to step in and take me away from that. I'll tell you this: when I hired a very key role, a guy named Jordan Cox, director of operations over there in our warehouse, or our warehouse here in Dallas, at least. And when I first hired him, for 4 weeks, I didn't know what to do. I'm not exaggerating. For 4 weeks, I would like, what in the world? Like right when he walked in the door, because I wanted to trust him to do it. and he took it all over, and I was like, gosh, I got to figure this out. And so there was a little bit of a month there where I was like, I kind of grasped everything again, and what do I got to do? And I figured that out and took it on and ran with it. So finding people that are my weaknesses that are like better than me at operations and that expense. If you're an operator and you are good at operations and you don't want to be in sales, you don't want to do the other stuff in business, then find a good sales rep like that you can then support on the backside operationally because those guys will go and crush it. And so
Mm.
it's combining those, whatever your weakness is finding the strengths in other people. It's like finding the right people, putting them in the right seat on the right bus. And everybody has different unique gifts, and we're here to serve each other with those gifts. So let's utilize and build and grow, and that's how we scale companies.
How did you attract like a leader operationally who knew more than you? Because sometimes we'll sit with an entrepreneur who's like, I feel like I need to figure it out first before I have the moral authority to hire them, and I feel like they're kind of leading me, so they struggle with that leadership dynamic. How did you attract someone like that?
I think one of the most important gifts of being a leader is being able to communicate the dream and the vision for people.
Mhm.
You can't communicate the dream and the vision if you don't know what you're talking about. So if you have an idea, for us in our case, if I didn't have to be, and I didn't have to be Lean Six Sigma like black belt, none of that stuff that all these guys are. I just had to knew what a warehouse did and how it operated, generally speaking. But then my strength was to lean in, like, look, man, if we get this in, here's where we're going in 5 years. Here's what we can do. Imagine this. Here's these customers we can bring in. And so for me, it was, to be frank, it was a long process. I interviewed 130 different people, finally nailed down to one and brought him in. And he was, Jordan, for example, that guy, he's about my age. He's got 4 kids, and just wanted to go and kind of build something. He's already been around the block with these big corporate companies. And for us so it's great stuff, not anything bad at all. But just learned all that and bringing that and kind of corporatizing us but also being able to have the culture of what we wanted to build here was massive. So I sold him on here's what the role can be. Obviously, execute these. Here's what you can do that's different than what you've done in other roles at other companies because of our business and culture. And then here's where we're going, is really what I sold him on. And he's loving it. He's an awesome guy. And we talk all the time. And he's been, and I tell him that, like, look, I'm here to communicate the vision. Like, this is where we're headed. Like, this is what I want to do, and here's how you play into that. Here's how these other guys play into that. And he loves it. I mean, he's all in, and we got a lot of things happening. But it took me realizing, everybody's in sales, right? Like at some point, you're selling something, right? You're selling. It could be you're selling to your kids of why they should go to a certain college or not, or whatever, right? Anything. So in this case, I'm selling to this guy who is he going to trust that I've been building a company to build and going the right way? Well, I got to know operations and I got to be able to show him this is where we're headed. So yeah,
Yeah, everybody is selling something. Even when you're trying to recruit people, you're selling them on the vision of where you're going. So
always, always. Yeah.
100%, it is a skill set. If you've gotten value from this video so far, like and subscribe for more content like this. And if you want help with any of your sales recruitment process at all, link below to my Instagram, shoot me a DM, and I'm happy to help. Obviously, I get a lot of people DMing me every single day for help for their business. So if you want a guaranteed response, if I don't get to you in time and it's urgent, Minnect me, also link below. You guys made a pretty solid investment into a new warehouse recently, which is
Yeah.
sick. Like seeing the before and after photos of like your old
Yeah.
warehouse to where it's at now, I think
Crazy.
that's super exciting for you guys. Um, but I mean, at the same time, it's almost like you think of the Drew 2, 3 years ago and like where he started off. I'm sure there must have been a moment in your mind where it's like, man, we're about to make a pretty big investment into where we're about to go into the future. How did you come to the conclusion that the risk was worth it? And how did you guys decide like, hey, like I'm ready to double down and continue to grow, knowing that hey, maybe it could fail, right? Like how did you come to
Yeah.
that conclusion?
The I had it's funny it is risky taking big steps like that. Um, I looked at it like, hey, I'm 36 years old. We've had a couple good years of profitability here. We've got something we can build. We had an incredible opportunity to step into a larger space with everything we ever needed. It's laid out right in front of us. And so I looked at it like, all right, operations is dialed. Sales is by this time the sales team's already been moving. I kind of knew what our forecast was going to look like, and so I just kind of knew the risk the risk was minimal in failure. Like the failure percentage was pretty low, roughly, right? But if we failed, it's massive. Like it's hard to regroup from that and recover. You could do it, but and I had a plan C kind of in place in the back of my mind that if we weren't working, okay, now I can dwindle and get this and keep the company going, whatever I need to do. So I kind of knew, you know, I knew like at least 10 steps ahead of time of what we were going to be doing, if not, 12, 13 steps. So I kind of knew where our game was at, meaning I knew if A worked, great, we're going to keep going. If A plus B kind of factored in there, okay, we'll survive and get there. And C was like, okay, crap, all else has failed. Change this out, change this person here, get over here. And so I had a game plan for every what if situation I could think of, which was
Mm,
massive. And then on top of that though, the biggest thing was we had a track record of growth. I mean, the years prior, we've 10x in 4 years. And so it's like when you grow like that, it's like I'm not worried about what's coming. Like I kind of know what we're doing. The systems are at play. The risk was low, but it's a if it fails, it's big, right? It's minimal, but it could happen. But I just kind of knew I had the systems in place, the right team in place. You put all the pieces together. I went down that train of what if, right? If this doesn't work, what happens? I went down that like, okay, so what is the worst case scenario, right? And I was like, well, I had a solution for the worst case scenario, so then I wasn't scared of it. It's like, all right, let's just step in and go, and it's laid out in front of us. So it was one of those where you just rule out as many questions as possible. And then part of being an entrepreneur is like you have to be the one that is willing to like risk it all, like whatever it takes. It depends on what that risk level is, and nobody else will, right? They'll all work their butt off and do a great job for you, but unless you're like in sales, like you're all in, like you're crushing the same thing. It's like you have to be the one that's willing to make that decision for everybody else. For us, we got 30 full-time employees plus 20 to 40 temps a day, and we got 60 something plus different customers. It's like it's a lot of people that you might make a bad decision for. So I just walked through it all. I walked through worst case scenario. I saw a track record we had of success that we were building. And I saw the opportunity ahead of time, what we could do in this new building that we were in over the next 2 to 3, 4 years. And I just knew that we had everything kind of set up for us to take it and run with it.
yeah, you definitely thought ahead. You thought about your next five moves, and then it was also a matter of what also stood out to me is you have to have a strong vision and a big vision. Because if you're okay with just kind of staying at the same level, then it's almost not worth it. But the fact that you're thinking big, and I know that, faith plays a big role in like your life and the mission of the company.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, hey, if you don't have a strong enough vision, you're never going to want to take that risk. You're always going to be a little bit comfortable just staying with where you're at. So,
Yeah.
respect to you, right? Um, on
Where
to
to
go
add
ahead.
to that, where there is no vision, the people perish. That's scripture, it's a Bible verse. So it's kind of like if you have a leader who cannot tell you in a passionate way where they're headed, then
Mm,
that's not vision. Somebody who can tell you by the numbers, by the books, that's not really vision. But somebody get up there by tell you by the numbers, by the books with passion, that's vision. Like there's a difference. Like there's a very big difference. And I think if somebody gets up there and just says, okay, cool, based on this forecast and this growth, that's just a CFO telling you the financials. Like, well, that's great. Those are great rules. You got to have them. But there's a difference between somebody telling you, here's what this company's doing, on the bottom line, here's what we're going to forecast and go here, versus somebody saying, hey, man, we just 10x over 4 years. Here's what we can do here on this side of it. If we bring in these customers, change these brands out, sales pumps here, like there's a whole different type of communication that you'll see with guys that have vision. There's a little bit of passion behind them that are communicating logically, and here's the facts. And then there's a little bit of like boom, boom, gung ho drive in that. There's just a different tone around that. So
mm,
that's what vision is. And where there is no vision, the people perish because people lose excitement too. Like, okay, I can logically see what's happening, but am I tied to that? Am I hyped in that? Is that the mission of how we quantify? How does my role of packing a box, which is what we do, tied to delivering the best service in the order fulfillment industry and grow our revenue by, whatever we want it. So anyway, that was a random thought that I just had there when you mentioned faith. It's like where there is no vision, the people perish, and vision typically vision is typically packaged with passion, I would say.
hmm Yeah, and to add on to that, because that's right on the head. Like right now, we're business planning with a lot of the clients that are in Bet David Consulting, and we're talking about, I don't know if you've seen the ad with PBD. He's talking about like Ernie, and then he's talking about Larry. And Ernie is just way too emotional. He's like delusional. Like that's the CEO
Oh
who's just
yeah.
way in over his head. And then there's Larry, which is way too logical based off these forecasts.
Yeah.
But once you have those two, like you said, that perfect blend, like that's really where a visionary comes into play, right? And
Yeah.
it's finding that balance for you and getting people riled up, but it's like we could actually hit this. If we all
Yeah.
are in alignment, we could genuinely make this happen. So it's
Yeah.
funny that you say that because it's like that's our language as well. Um, no, I love it. And speaking on, getting some clients in the door, I think probably the coolest thing about your business that I've always been like, man, it's so cool that Drew does that. You work with some pretty sick brands, like CPG brands, influencer
Yeah.
brands. We got Black Friday right around the corner,
Yeah.
and I know that's big in your space. Maybe
Yeah.
hit us with a little bit of magic, right? Like based off of your track record, what is going to be the difference maker for CPG brands that crush it this Black Friday versus the guys who are just like, are average, an average Black Friday?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the funny thing about it is Black Friday used to be in Cyber Monday and this holidays right here, these peak sales used to be massive planning for us and everything. It's so good. I think what I would tell a brand is if you're working with a 3PL that hypes up Black Friday more than any other day of the year, you're probably working with the wrong 3PL if you want to grow. And I
Mm,
say that because if you look at this, like I looked at it for us this year, we planned Black Friday, 4, 5, 6 months ago. Like it's not, and the reason I say it this way is because we walked into our office. It was last week. I went to the warehouse and I went out there and sales already moving all this stuff, and it felt so easy and peaceful. I looked over at our Jordan and I was like, dude, Black Friday and Cyber Monday, all these holidays is Q4 feels like any other time of year for us. It's like
mm,
although we're going to have a 150 to 200% increase in work and volume, it's like we're already set up and ready to get like we don't even it's not even that big of a deal. And the reason I say that is like the magic is not in the fact that oh make it such a big deal, right? The magic is the fact that you've done it so many times that you don't have to worry about it because everything's already clicking and in a rhythm and systems are already firing away. So for brands out there that are building, it's like I would really review not only the performance of what you're doing, right? You got to make sure your orders are getting through. You got to make sure your orders are getting packed and shipped or whatever it may be. And maybe delays will happen. That stuff, not everybody's perfect. But I would really review what is the feeling behind it? Like, do you have a gut feeling of like, are they really knowing what they're talking about? Is somebody on the brand side or the 3PL side or whatever it is? Because I would really take like if you want a piece of nugget magic, is Black Friday and Cyber Monday should operate similarly like any other day of the year for a 3PL. It's not nothing crazy. Just bring in more labor, get your systems in place, make sure your plan is set up. And if your 3PL has all that in place, then I don't think that it should be much of a hurry or a headache for you guys. There might obviously things that are uncontrollable factors within supply chain that happen often, but it's really having that mindset of cool, calm, and collective even when inside the storm is pretty massive, and that comes from experience. Like that just comes from we've been there, done that, we know what we're doing, and here's where we're headed. It kind of comes with that mindset. So we've made
mm.
our ample fair share of mistakes before that we've learned from. So we're not
I
perfect
bet.
by no means, but that's the magic. If it feels a little like a running around with a chicken with a head cut off, then it is definitely running around with a chicken with your head cut off. Like I would trust your gut on that.
Yeah. So for the CPG brands, aka work with Deliver Zen, that's your
Yeah,
solution for Black Friday.
that's my sales pitch. Yeah,
There you
it's
go. I love it.
yeah for sure.
It gets my stamp of approval.
Thanks,
Um,
and I like it.
last bit. I know we got to get running here. Last bit because maybe there's some content creators, some influencers, guys that are making content out there. They're building an audience for themselves. Here we have a whole merch department. I'm literally sitting next to our merch department, and we're growing. I think we've had like 100% increase year over year with our merch. But part of that is because we have an audience, right? So, what would you say maybe to some influencers, content creators that have an audience and are thinking to themselves, hey, what if I built a CPG brand that I could, sell some merch or sell some health
Yeah.
and wellness products? How can an influencer, up and coming creator, get ready for that type of a pivot?
Yeah, so we've done so many influencer brands. We've done a lot all over the spectrum. I'll say this, not every influencer brand can really move product like they think they can. And so I say that because we've been around the block with influencers that have millions and millions and millions of followers. Like true story. We have one right now that's got a couple million on Instagram and all this kind of stuff. And they're moving a different product line and it's not selling at all. But we have one that has like 400,000 followers on Instagram that is doing 15 times the volume of them. Like true story. So it doesn't necessarily matter on total size of influencer. The second side of it is that if you're thinking about it, I think one, it's the best thing to do. If you're an influencer, get equity in the brand. Like do not either start on your own and do it, or but don't just post and promote products anymore. Get equity. If you're an
Mm,
influencer, 100%, whether that's all on whatever it may be, get in there, get some. You should be able to earn that. Now you're not going to be able to get enough on the front side. They're going to take obviously there's negotiated deals, but get something out of these things if you start something or get a part of something. Not every brand's going to do it for you by no means. So don't be entitled to it. You're not entitled to any of that. But I would say that's the biggest thing. And then the last piece of it is, well, there's two things I would say on the end of it here is that a great example of an influencer that's done really well is a guy named Joey Swoll, and we ship for him. And then what he did was he's got 8 million followers on TikToks, 5 million on Instagram. He's probably got 20 plus million across all of his channels that he's got maybe. That guy started a company called him and his partner Jason started a company called Taste Flavor Co. And what made them so unique was that they were in the bodybuilding space, the fitness space. He's a fitness influencer, all that. But what made him so unique was that he didn't just start a product that was like a protein powder or a pre-workout. He went and started a condiment company that he targeted as a low-calorie condiment company. And it did two things. One, it took his audience that was so flooded with pre-workouts and proteins, all that, and gave him something a little bit different. And two is a low-calorie condiment product that he's not just doing for like the fitness bodybuilding space. He's actually targeting it for anybody that wants low calorie condiments, which was genius. So his market just went from the niche that he had of his followers to anybody and everybody that wants condiments, but they don't eat them as much because they're super high in calories. So they got low calorie stuff. So it's
mm,
great. It was genius. So what I've told guys that they ask this question is like, hey, look, it's hard to sell stuff, so be ready for that. Two, make sure you get some ownership in this deal if you can. And three, I would make sure you find a product line that's not just going to be watered out like a red ocean, but try to find that blue ocean if you can. That fits right in just in your scope, but just outside of edge, that's going to have a little bit bigger market. That's kind of a new touch to it, maybe. You don't get too creative with it, but find something there, and I think you're going to be pretty successful on that side of it. The last piece
mm,
I'll add in is make sure you have a company that knows it can support it, which is what we do. Just because those influxes of sales, we know the influencer marketing world very well, and so when something sells and pops with an influencer, it can go high really fast. You get a lot of order volume within a 24-hour notice. And being
mm.
able to support that's pretty massive. So I think that's probably rounded out. Is get equity. Don't think you can sell everything. Find that product that's not just within your scope, but just outside of it. Like Joey Swoll did with Taste Flavor Co. He didn't do the protein supplement stuff. He went low calorie condiment. So it went to his audience, plus it went to a greater audience, which is really pretty cool. So it's pretty massive to see that success that those guys have had.
My man. I well, look, we appreciate the this was sick. I loved it. Learned a lot, but yeah, no, appreciate the advice, the information, the breakdown. But I know you got to get running here, Drew. So we'll leave you to it, my man. But this was awesome. We should do it again.
Heck yeah, man. Thanks, Jamal. Appreciate it, bro.